Welcome back from your break. We've now got our second keynote speaker, Joanne Bosanquet, who is going to tell us all about her career and how she's developed over the years. So we're really pleased that Joanne's agreed to do this. So she's got some PowerPoint slides for us and she's going to tell us her story.
You may be thinking, what happened there? Well, the silk scarf enabled the mic to fall off. So they've secured it. Thank you, Melaine. So that was it. And then Mary was amazing. She really helped me to focus on what I really wanted to do. And earlier on in the breakout sessions this morning, we were talking about the English National Board, the EMB programs that we used to have when we had the UKCC. And I was able to come to London to study on the EMB 182, which was the anaesthetic nursing course, breaking the mould really, because there were no anaesthetic nurses at all outside London. And I said, oh, I want some of that. So that's what I did. So then that was that was the blueprint really for me to be breaking the mould forever. I don't really like being told no. I find everything a challenge and quite an exciting challenge at that. I've got a lot of Tigger in me. I'm really curious and I've got a huge amount of energy. So I worked London really to my advantage for years and years and years. And then eventually I kind of did a bit of a full circle and found my passion, which was health promotion, public health and working with families and communities. So I'd done it in theory, actually way back in my pre-nursing course, but not really addressed it within my nurse training because it was 1989 and we just didn't do that. It was very medicalised and very hospital based. So I was able to do that. And then I studied for a health studies degree full-time at the age of 26 and worked on agency and bank throughout that time. So I then moved into population health and was a nurse consultant in health protection and my, I suppose my responsibility London-wide was measles actually. So I was in charge of measles outbreaks and working with communities to increase vaccination rates and things like that. So it was just the most amazing time. I then had Dominic. I had Dominic when I was 40, and when I did that, I thought, my gosh, I can now do anything. So I applied for a deputy chief nurse job in Public Health England, which was a brand new role. I was working there as a nurse consultant. I felt that I knew what I was doing and that what we needed, and so I applied for it and got it, which was a bit of a shock. And so for the next 7 years, I worked as deputy chief nurse under Viv Bennett, which was amazing. But then I got kind of a bit itchy feet again after 7 or 8 years, and a friend of mine who's a chief executive at the Queen's Nursing Institute said, I think you're ready to come out into the charity sector. And I kind of laughed and said, well, how can I do that? I have no idea what I'm doing. She said, yes, you do. You've got every single attribute that we need. I'll support you. And she did. And she still does today. And so 3 years ago, this month, I was appointed as the chief executive at the Foundation of Nursing Studies, which you can see on this slide. So really the poignant part of this story is how I have been able to do an absolute full circle in about 35 years of my life without really any plan. I've just naturally followed my dreams, followed my interests, and tried to look forward to think, well, what might we need in the future? What do we need to do? I'm not going to dwell on this slide because had we not had the technical issue, I probably would have had a bit more time. But this is something that I've rediscovered, having come out of government and being a bit freer to do what I want, is that when we have meetings, we tend to use a check-in. So whenever we get together online, we do a check-in, and this tends to put us all in quite a good mood before we start the day. And they are very powerful. There's an evidence base behind check-ins and this next one, which is the grounding, where they really help you to focus more, to be present in the room and to actively listen to others. And they literally take a few minutes. It doesn't have to take that long. that's what it did. When I came out of government and came into the charity sector, I was in a very creative space, really with curious people who were just so passionate about communities and people. And so we use things and we just use what works, and we flop around and we test things out, and we have just the most amazing time. So FONZ, as it's affectionately known throughout the system, it's not old. We're about 30 years old. We were born out of the Wellington Hospital in North London when doctors were getting lots and lots of CPD and nurses were on the wards doing the work. And one of the doctors, Dr. Bevan, who is our president, said that's not on, and one of his patients donated some money, and that's how we were born. And then over the years, we've been home really to the person-centeredness philosophy. So lots of nurse philosophers like Jan Dewing, Brendan McCormack, Kim Manley and others, Angie Titchin as well. They kind of come through FONZ, and we've been a kind of bedrock for practice development, philosophy, and also person-centeredness. And so for me to come into this thinking, oh, I know what I'm doing. I know, I've always been person-centered. Well, what a shock that was, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So the way we work is that we work with people. It's important for us, as you can see on the slide, I'm not going to read through it, but it's important for us to establish shared purpose, shared values, and start where others are, and not teach, not tell, not impart transactional information to you and then you walk off. That's not how we work at all. And we can go quite deeply into workplace culture if that's what the team wants, or if the organisation's ready for that, then we will do that, and we do that very, very often, and more now, as you can imagine. But we work collectively, and we will work lifelong. So it's lifelong practice for us. Once a FONZ alumni, always a FONZ alumni. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about the programmes. You can see the programmes on your slides, and you'll get the PDF at the end of the day. But our Inspire Improvement is open at the moment for applications, and I urge you to have a look at that. It's fully funded by the Burdett Trust for Nurses, and obviously the in-kind will be from your organisation, so please do talk to Ali about that. But it's a phenomenal programme, and I absolutely love it. It's a full year, and you form a collective with about 10 others, really looking at yourself, but also your workplace culture, and perhaps looking at an innovation project that you want to do. But the whole point of it is that it's the values and it's the way that we work, which is the most powerful part of this. So please go on our website and have a look. And that's one of the cruxes of the issue, is the why. So all of us can come to work and say what we do and how we do it, but are we good at knowing the why? Are we honest about the why? And if you're interested and you haven't had a look at Simon Sinek's TED Talk about the why, please do have a look at that, because it's really, really powerful. So just in the last kind of few minutes of my talk with you today, I want to seed and plant, really. I want to do some reflections around my last 3 years of my life throughout the pandemic, but also at work, but also get you thinking about how important person-centeredness is for you as professionals together as a collective, but also with the work that you do as well for the organisation. So I did some work around professional identity throughout the pandemic, because I was seeing lots, and I did it. I ran towards a fire, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I ended up in a hospital saying, use me, and they couldn't, because I didn't know what I was doing. And I remember thinking, what made me do that? Why did I feel the need to do that? I did it as well. I was a student nurse when the Hillsborough disaster happened in Sheffield, and I hadn't even gone on a placement yet. I was in my first year, but yet I said to my dad, I have to run. And he said, you can't, you'll be dangerous. And I was upset. And you know, there's a real in-depth kind of passion there, I think, with us as nurses, AHPs and medics, that we need to help, that we have to help people in the greatest hour of need, or help people to stay healthy, whatever it is that we do. So I did some work on it, and I joined Sigma Theta Tau, which a lot of you will know is a brilliant global organisation, professional nursing organisation, and some of their academics had done some work around professional identity. And there's a few webinars that are on the Sigma website. And if you're interested, put it in the chat and then I will get you the link later. But there are 4 components to our professional identity. And I would say that it's similar to AHPs and medics. That we are driven by our values and ethics. Of course, there's an aspect of knowledge, there's an aspect of leadership. But really importantly is this professional component. And I didn't know what that meant until I started to read it. But this is where I started to put, to go from A to B and to start linking in thoughts I had in my head. And this is basically the whole of us. What does it feel to be a nurse? Who are we? What is it that makes us do what we do? And part of it's words, but a lot of it is actions and your presence and the stuff that's really difficult to explain. So I had a look at that, and then I started to look at, okay, well, what's person-centeredness? Surely they're linked. And for me, they are absolutely linked, because we are building therapeutic relationships and we are relationship-centered as nurses, midwives, AHPs and medics. We should be relationship-centered, or else we're in the wrong job. We should have a respect for persons and self-determination. It's not my way or the highway. Long gone are the days where we tell you what to do and you either do it or don't. We know it's much more complicated than that. It's about respect, and that's us as a team, but also between us and our families and patients and relatives, and residents. But it's also about empowerment, and it's quite difficult to empower if you don't feel empowered yourself. So I started to think, well, how can I kind of combine these two together? So I decided to write about it. So it's the next one. So I decided to start writing. And I'm not a natural academic. It does take quite a lot of time for me to write. But I started to write, and I was really lucky that I was commissioned to write an editorial last year for the Journal of Research in Nursing. And the 2 editors took me through a very, very compassionate journey, actually. They looked after me really well throughout that whole journey. And I could have written a PhD, I had so much stuff. But trying to distill my thoughts and my feelings and my emotional reaction to this commission, it took about 3 months. But this is probably, it is the most important thing I've ever written. The response I got on social media and elsewhere was just unbelievable, and it's really sparked off quite a big conversation about well-being and nursing, and who we are and what we should be demanding as a collective, not kind of placard demanding, but also using our intelligence to demand better. So please have a read, and I'm on social media, so you can DM me on social media and we can have a conversation about it. And just thinking about person-centeredness, it's everywhere, but we've got to be really careful about how we talk about it, because when I started thinking about what it was, I started listing all these words and phrases that I'd heard over the years. Some are American and a lot of these are from the UK. And they get interchanged, and it's not right, because they do all mean different things. And so we really must be very careful when we are talking about person-centered practice and person-centered leadership, that we don't start straying into either the unknown or areas where it isn't evidence-based, because person-centeredness has an international evidence base. Brendan McCormack's got 600 plus peer-reviewed articles under his name, and he's the kind of king of it, really, as are others. But it's really important that if we're going to do it, we need to do it properly. And this is why there isn't a shortage of papers and books around person-centered research, person-centered practice, and person-centered systems. And so if you think about it on a triangle, then we've got our people, we've got our staff, we've got our organisations, but we've got policy at the top. And so this next slide demonstrates that quite nicely. I was really, really chuffed to see both of these quotes, one by the European Commission in 2020 and one by the regional WHO office in 2020, and both talking about person-centered cultures, person-centered systems, and we can link it directly back to the Sustainable Development Goals. So it is a really, really interesting time for us. Just before I finish, I've got some bits of homework for you if you'd like it, or some bedtime reading. For the ones of you that haven't seen The Courage of Compassion, this basically is the blueprint. It tells you everything you need to know for nursing, for us to go out there and demand better for all of us. And it was written by Michael West, who a lot of you will know is a King's Fund Fellow. And we were really lucky in the first wave of the pandemic. I had time, and so I helped them with it, and we contributed to that paper. And if you read it, you'll probably know which bits are mine. So that's amazing. And then I've just put in your values as an organisation, because it's important that you start to really live and understand what your values are as an organisation, and question if it's not strong enough, if it's not person-centred enough. You need to say so, and you need to kind of really start having some discussions with your board. So finally, this is my call to action for you. And for all of us, really. I have put a lot of thought into this, especially recently, because the Foundation of Nursing Studies were part of a collective of nursing charities, who we did a lot of work and produced a position statement, a joint position statement on clinical supervision, which is the first kind of situation report, SITREP, we've had for quite a long time. So please look out for that's on our website. Also, the RCN's literature review on clinical supervision is due out very soon in the Journal of Advanced Nursing. So please have a look at that. Because I think, no longer is clinical supervision or reflective practice a nice to do. It should be incorporated into our practice. It should start from the day we start our nurse training and our nurse education at university, day one, year one. And so the work that we're doing in the South East this year, please, keep a lookout. We are doing some phenomenal work in your area, working with nurses and their teams all over, social care, health. We'll be linking in with universities as well. So yes, please do look out for that. So that's clinical supervision. The other thing is around language. If you're looking at role descriptors, if you're looking at how you describe the organisation, what goes into a person spec in a job description, if you've got practice development educators or practice development nurses, AHPs, look at their JDs. How much of that JD sings person-centeredness to you? Because actually the ones that I know that do well have a much wider view of person-centeredness when they are approaching their practice development, because the two are inextricably linked. So just another challenge for you there. And I think that the other thing really is around whole systems approach. We need to agree a common language, really, that we all understand what we're doing. So this is these are our social media handles, and we're everywhere. We're beginning to be everywhere. Instagram is still a little bit of a misnomer for me, but Grace, one of our practice development facilitators, is embracing Instagram, and she runs that. So she'll run the FONZ Instagram page, and she's been fantastic all week. So please do follow us on Instagram. Follow me, I'll follow you back. We can have some conversations, and that is me. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Joanne. That was fascinating. I've got a couple of questions.
I'm going to put my coffee down, yes. Thank you.
I like the sheep, by the way.
They are fabulous, aren't they?
I might nick that at some point.
Well, let's just go back. Let's keep talking and I'll get that back on, because that really is it really lifts your spirits, the sheep. Let's go back.
For me, something I want to take away is, on reflection, thinking about job descriptions and being person-centred. I perhaps need to go back to some of the, because I do look at a lot of job descriptions and write a lot of job descriptions. So that's definitely something that I'm going to take away. So thank you for that.
And if you want me to help you with any, let me know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You might get
Sometimes
a call.
A tweak. I've helped other organisations. I've helped them with their nursing strategies as well, just tweaking them. Sorry, nursing AHP, and hopefully if we can get medicine in there as well, that would be amazing. But I've helped them with their strategies, just tweaking the language a little bit, opening it up, getting rid of the word patient, because we're now integrated care systems, and it's important that we say people, and things like that. So it's a slow burn, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
So you said you followed your dream. You've had quite a lot.
I have followed my dream.
Yes, I know.
I just didn't know what it was.
Okay, but I'm interested in what the key enablers were along the way. If you could sort of grab a couple of key people.
Yeah. So Mary was the first one because this was way before emails. This was 1992 that I met Mary, and I was 22 and I was bouncing around. I was way worse than I am now, bouncing around all the time, just wanting to soak up every bit of knowledge. And I was good at it. I found that I was really good at theatres. I was good at recovery. I loved it. And she then did some homework for me without me realising. And she found where these EMB courses were. And then she said, right, I've got you an interview down at Royal Free Hospital. And she said, I know I'm going to lose you, but I'm not going to lose you because this is where you're destined to be. And she enabled me to take a really confident jump, I suppose, to go to London. And yeah, she was very, very, very influential to me. And then there's been some triggers on the opposite side of that. So the other triggers for me to do things is when people say no, or I don't think you're ready, or what do you want to do that for? Because they don't understand me and they're not actively listening to what I'm saying to them. So if I see a blocker, I just do a workaround and then go and do it. I don't fall out with anybody, but I think I've learned to know when people aren't really interested. So I'll just go somewhere else where people are a bit more interested.
I was reading in your bio that are you mentored by
early career
nurses?
There's a nurse, she's probably not, she's no longer, she's early-ish career now. She's been mentoring me for about 3 years. And she was a new graduate from Edinburgh University. She did a 4-year, I think she came out with a master's degree. She reminded me of me so much. She was so hungry, wanted to get straight into policy. And I remember battling with my own internal critic saying, shouldn't she consolidate first? And so she enabled me to critique my own outdated view of what a nurse was. And so she did exactly that. She went straight into policy, worked for a big charity, and is now working for the Health Foundation as a policy lead. And it's a joy. And she still nurses. She wants to do that. And so that's been, some people call it reverse mentoring, but actually it's more peer-to-peer now.
Yes,
and she's really helped me, and I've helped her. It's a joy, I love it.
Yes,
absolutely love it.
Well, thank you very much. That's
absolute
been
pleasure. Thanks, and have a wonderful afternoon.
And thank you for the sheep scale.
There we are.
We'll share that with everyone.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, bye then.
Thank you.